Welcome, everybody. First of all, enjoy one of the best venue views in New York. Greetings also to our virtual audience. Welcome to Atlantic Council Front Page, our premier platform for global leaders. I'm Fred Kemp, President and CEO of the Atlantic Council. It's my pleasure to welcome José Manuel Albares, Bueno, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, European Union, and Cooperation of the Kingdom of Spain for a conversation on Madrid's approach to European and global security. The discussion comes as world leaders gather here in New York for the 80th session of the UN General Assembly. We're proud to be hosting this during a busy week for the Atlantic Council in New York as we convene a series of dynamic events addressing the world's most pressing issues and spotlighting leaders shaping the global future. Mr. Minister, we're doing more than 25 events here, ranging from the event here to a little gathering tomorrow evening at our Global Citizen Awards for 700 of our closest friends, where we'll be honoring the President of Argentina, who will be introduced by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. We'll be honoring President Macron, who will be introduced by BlackRock's Larry Fink. And we'll be honoring Gianni Infantino, the head of global football, the president of FIFA, who will be introduced by Tom Brady. The GOAT, the greatest of all time of American football, will be introducing a leader of a different sort of football. And so it's going to be exciting. It's going to be an exciting week all around. I really love our Atlantic Council Front Page events because we get a one-on-one conversation after some opening comments with leaders who are involved at the cutting edge of the issues that we're all watching unfold all around us. And I think this is maybe the most volatile geopolitical moment of my lifetime, with ongoing wars in Europe and the Middle East, along with rising tensions in the Indo-Pacific, a contest for the commanding heights of technological change. These developments threaten the shared values of democracy, peace, and security on which the Transatlantic Alliance was founded. And of course, the Atlantic Council's whole mission is about promoting constructive U.S. leadership alongside partners and allies. This all comes as the Trump administration has been pursuing a changed approach toward NATO and European security, where the expectation is that Europe, Mr. Minister, takes more responsibility for its own security, something that the United States has long pursued, but of course with the NATO summit this year in The Hague, it's moved a considerable distance forward. Spain's role as a proactive and values-driven actor on the global stage with a focus on defending democratic institutions, strengthening multilateralism, and promoting peace and security is exceptionally important in today's global environment. The work Spain has put forward to deepen ties with North Africa, the Sahel, and of course Latin America, makes Spain a bridge between regions and a global diplomatic leader. In this spirit, the Minister joins us to share the view from Madrid on the most pressing challenges facing Europe, NATO's southern flank, and the Transatlantic Alliance as a whole. The Minister has served as Foreign Minister since July 2021, witnessing a tremendous amount of geopolitical change in that time. He has a distinguished career in foreign affairs, including previous roles as Spanish ambassador to France and as Secretary General for International Affairs, European Union, G20, and Global Security at the Office of the President of the Government. A career diplomat, he's been posted to Colombia, France, and the OECD, where he was elected Vice Chairman of the Development Assistance Committee. As Foreign Minister, his work has spanned rebuilding key relationships with Morocco, negotiating the EU-UK agreement with respect to Gibraltar, and ushering in a new foreign action strategy which sets out Spain's vision for a stronger Europe and its role in supporting democracy, peace, and security around the globe. So convenings on topics like this are integral to the Atlantic Council's Scowcroft Center on Strategy and Security and its mission for developing sustainable, nonpartisan strategies to address the world's most security challenges. Our center honors General Brent Scowcroft's legacy of service, the only individual to serve 2 presidents as National Security Advisor and twice as National Security Advisor, and embodies his ethos of nonpartisan commitment to the cause of security and support for U.S. leadership and cooperation with allies. Moderating today's discussion will be Matt Koenig, Vice President of the Atlantic Council and Senior Director of the Scowcroft Center at the Atlantic Council. This discussion is on the record, and with that, I would like to turn over to the Minister for a few opening remarks.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you very much for the warm welcome, and it is my pleasure to be here today at this event organized by the Atlantic Council as we begin a very intensive high-level diplomacy week at the center of multilateralism in New York in United Nations. So I would like to thank you for gathering people that want to know more about Spain's foreign policy, a foreign policy that is global and that is coherent, that says the same thing for the same values everywhere in these very turbulent times. Spain is proud to be a partner and a deeply transatlantic nation, and therefore I feel very comfortable, I feel at home at any Atlantic institution, including this one. We are going through a turning point in international relations. Probably it's the most defining moment since the fall of the Berlin Wall. The international order, responsible for decades of peace, progress, understanding, is being openly challenged, and its underpinning values are contested. Power prevails in some places over law, protectionism over openness, and the worst of all, some people want fear to prevail over trust. War is back as a way of settling disputes. It's back in Ukraine, it's back in the Middle East, and our democracies are under threat from outside, but also from within our borders. These are real challenges for countries like Spain, which thrive in an open and cooperative international system based on international law and multilateral institutions, a system which reflects the deep-seated values of Spanish society, which are democratic, pluralistic, humanistic. Today, nothing is more urgent in international relations than to stop the endless killing in Gaza and in Ukraine. We uphold international law and human rights in both places. We support and we work for a real and valuable Palestinian state living in good neighborhood next to the State of Israel, as we support a free and independent state of Ukraine. And at the end, this is a matter of pure humanity. No one can remain silent in front of the endless humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza and in Ukraine. And these and other are daunting challenges that threaten and that can lead us to paralysis. But in Spain, we have chosen to be actors, and we have chosen action, global action. Our new foreign action strategy is our roadmap for our global diplomacy for the next 4 years. This is also a good opportunity to underscore that Spain is a committed NATO ally, committed to Euro-Atlantic security, and that right now we have our biggest deployment ever in the eastern flank of the alliance, with almost 3,000 troops. We are a framework nation in Slovakia. We have troops in Romania, Lithuania, Latvia, and we are contributing to the aircraft reinforcement of Poland against the Russian threats. We have a Patriot battery deployed in Turkey, and we are participating in the NATO training mission in Iraq. And we are participating, we recently have announced it, in the Eastern Sentry operation to bolster our security in the eastern flank. Over the last few years, Spain and the United States have engaged in meaningful bilateral dialogue and cooperation. The joint declaration of 2022 have paved the way for the establishment of working groups on Central America, migration, the Sahel. We are also a strong partner in counterterrorism, also in Africa, and we are working together in areas like space science. For political, economic, and cultural reasons, Latin America and the Caribbean remains an essential priority for Spain. We share with our Latin American brothers ties that are deeply emotional. In fact, Spain has been the member state of the European Union that has done more to place Latin America at the center of the European agenda, holding the first EU-CELAC summit in a year during our presidency of the EU Council. And we constantly promote agreements with Mercosur, with Chile, with Mexico, while maintaining an intense bilateral agenda. And this is of great value not only to Europe, but also to the United States' interests in Latin America. And of course, now we are expanding our foreign policy that has become, for the first time since the end of the dictatorship, in a global foreign policy. We are aware of the Indo-Pacific centrality to security and prosperity. Our Navy frigate, Mendes Núñez, has joined the UK, Norway, and Canada's navies in a deployment in the Indo-Pacific this year. And it's worth noting that 1/3 of Australia's Navy has been built in Spain. We are also working towards a more balanced partnership with China, and our cooperation with India is also seeing a renewed impulse with a joint declaration signed last October. We pursue dialogue with a wide range of global partners because they are key in dealing with global challenges such as economic stability, climate emergency, global migration. We believe in constant engagement with them, both bilaterally as the European Union, and we need to consider their perspective and interest in the reform of multilateral institutions, starting by the United Nations, while making sure that those institutions remain fit for purpose. An example of this is our contribution to the Financing for Development agenda. We hosted last June a very successful UN conference in Sevilla, in Spain, which resulted in the Sevilla Commitment to Action. In sum, Spain remains a strong Euro-Atlantic part of that relation. We are committed to multilateral institutions. We believe that that's the right answer to common and global problems and to a global outlook starting from our close neighborhood that reaches far beyond. Our foreign policy always works for dialogue and cooperation because we believe that cooperation is always stronger than confrontation.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Minister, for those insightful remarks. Thank you very much for being here today. And you covered a lot of ground, Ukraine, Gaza. I want to get to all that. But maybe first, we're here in New York, first day of the UN General Assembly. We heard some speeches this morning. You said you were busy in meetings. What is your initial impression and takeaways so far from this UN General Assembly?
That we are more that believe in cooperation, in dialogue, in multilateralism, to tackle and to solve the global problems, than those that don't do it. But that there is, at the same time, we must acknowledge a real threat, that some very strong countries in the world might have the temptation to think that they have a unilateral solution for global problems, or that the strength must be and the force must displace international law, or that war, it's a way of settling disputes among states, that war, as it was in the old times before United Nations, is another way of carrying out foreign policy. So there is a real challenge. starting by our own democracies, the very foundation. There is a real challenge for human rights. There is a real challenge for international law, for United Nations. But we must not forget, we are many more that believe in cooperation and multilateralism, and therefore it's more important than ever to stand for those values and to speak up. And another thing that it has been a big change compared to other General Assemblies that I have attended as a foreign minister, is that today talking about things that were common sense has become a little bit revolutionary. To talk about peace, to talk about development cooperation, but we have to do it. We have to keep backing.
Good. Well, let's talk about peace. And you said in your opening remarks that you want to stop the killing in Ukraine, stop the killing in Gaza. I think President Trump very much agrees with you on that. So let's start with Ukraine. President Trump has made negotiating an end to the war in Ukraine a top priority. How is this going from Spain's point of view, and are we making progress?
I welcome very much any effort for peace. And President Trump certainly is really trying as hard as he can for peace. Unfortunately, I don't see on the Russian side any hint that he wants not only peace, but even a real ceasefire. President Zelensky has put on the table an unconditional ceasefire. And we see that everything that Vladimir Putin says or does are dilatory tactics to continue with the war. So I welcome the effort. I don't see on Russia any real commitment to peace. And what we must make sure today are two things. One, and Spain is committed to that we will be backing Ukraine as long as it takes to become and to continue being an independent and free country. And the second thing, when we talk about peace, that we all give the same content to that war. Peace is a lasting peace. It's not a parenthesis between two wars. And peace is a just peace. And a just peace is a peace adapted to the principles of the United Nations Charter, leaving a Ukraine that is sovereign to decide to which organization wants to belong.
Many have argued that to get peace in Ukraine, it's going to require turning up the pressure on Vladimir Putin, especially through more economic sanctions. President Trump has recently said that the United States may not do more unless Europe takes the lead here by cutting off Russian oil and gas purchases, maybe putting secondary tariffs or sanctions on China and India. Do you think Europe is willing, and is Spain willing to do more to turn up the economic pressure on Putin?
Spain certainly, and I would say Europe as well. I don't want to speak on behalf of every country in Europe, but so far we have 19 packets of sanctions, and all of them have been approved by consensus. Spain is certainly ready to do all that. And I agree, I think that putting pressure on Russia is the only way to bring to the negotiating table Russia. As long as Vladimir Putin can carry out this war, he will continue doing it.
Mm-hmm. And the idea of secondary sanctions or tariffs on China and India, is that?
We always look about how to prevent that sanctions are diverted through different countries. So yes, of course, we keep doing it all the time, since the very first package of sanctions.
Okay, good. And sticking with European security, another major development has been the NATO defense spending pledge, where NATO allies have agreed to spend 5% of GDP on defense. Spain is a country that has said that it doesn't need to spend the 5% to meet its defense capabilities. Can you say more about that decision, and can Spain really provide the capabilities that NATO needs at less than 5% defense spending?
Because we thought that that was the wrong approach, to put the percentage first and then to decide on what we're going to spend it. What's really important is what are the capability targets? What are the commitments to which every member state or every ally of NATO must fulfill? And we are going to do it, as we have always done it. But when we did the calculation with 2.1, we could do it. And we want to be judged by the deed. We are going to provide them. And there are two things that maybe people in the United States don't know, but Spain has right now the largest commitment ever since becoming a member of NATO, of troops, tanks, aeroplanes in the eastern flank. 3,000 soldiers, aeroplanes that provide security to the Baltics, ships, tanks. We are giving a huge amount of equipment to Ukraine for its own defense. And when my government got into office, we found the budget, the defense budget, at the lowest point in the history of Spain. We have tripled since that budget, and we have recently met the Wales target of 2%.
Final question on European security. The Trump administration is finishing its national defense strategy. It's reportedly doing a force posture review. There are reports that the administration may decide to focus on the Western Hemisphere or maybe the Indo-Pacific, but that the sense that maybe Europe and the Middle East are less of a priority than they used to be. Spain, of course, hosts 4,000 American troops, including at the Rota Naval Station. You host 5 U.S. destroyers. Is there a concern that the United States may be pivoting away from Europe, a concern that the United States may decide to move forces out of Spain? And if so, how do you protect the bilateral relationship as the United States rethinks its priorities?
No concern at all. Neither any hint. I've met with my colleague Marco Rubio. I've met recently in Madrid, in the headquarters of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with the Secretary of the Treasury, and I think we are all happy of that collaboration that goes way back during decades. And I think that those two bases are something important for the security of the United States and also for the Euro-Atlantic security. So no, I don't see any change. On the contrary, Rota is expanding more and more.
Mm-hmm. Okay, turning to the Middle East, and you talked about the war in Gaza, and how do you see this going? Are we any closer to peace? Where are we? Where do you see this going?
Like with Ukraine, the one that can stop this war doesn't want to do it. In one is Vladimir Putin, in the other one is Benjamin Netanyahu. I mean, we are talking about 65,000 people dead. We are seeing that in Gaza, things so basic as food stuff is being halted in the border. We are seeing babies dying because of induced famine. This is unacceptable from any point of view. And we really have to do something. I only see a military operation that has no point at all. There is no objective. It has lost any objectives since many months ago. This is not an anti-terrorist operation. This is a global punishment operation to a whole population. We have to stop it. We have to stop it, and we all know what's the real solution for peace for everyone in the Middle East, for security for everyone in the Middle East, including the people of Israel that have, of course, a right to security. The two-state solution that we believe in it. Yesterday and before yesterday, many countries in the world, some of them permanent members of the Security Council, recognize the state of Palestine. Let's make it a reality. And let's make a state of Palestine and a state of Israel living together and guaranteeing each other peace, security, prosperity. At the end, this is justice for the Palestinian people. I don't see why they should be the only people on earth that are condemned to be eternally a people of refugees. This is the way of achieving peace and security also for the Israeli people. And at the end, this is pure humanity. We cannot look away when we see this level of destruction and killing. And certainly Spain will do as much as we can to stop it. But unfortunately, I don't think that this is close to happen. On the contrary, because there is no political objective, no legitimate political objective behind all this violence. It's just pure violence unleashed everywhere in Gaza.
So you mentioned a Palestinian state, and Spain is one of many European countries now that has gone ahead and recognized a Palestinian state. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said that this will just embolden Hamas. President Trump sounded a similar theme in his remarks today. Why do you see it differently from Secretary Rubio and President Trump? Will this just embolden Hamas?
Because Hamas belongs of those people that are against my point of view, those people that don't believe in the two-state solution. Mm-hmm. They don't believe in the state of Israel, as I do. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's very clear what's this future state of Palestine that must be a viable and realistic Palestinian state, with the West Bank and Gaza under one single Palestinian Authority connected by a corridor, with a port in Gaza and its capital in East Jerusalem. The Palestinian National Authority are our partners for peace. Hamas is not. Mm-hmm. Hamas is a terrorist organization that must be disarmed and disappear, that has no role to play whatsoever in a future Palestinian state. Actually, a Palestinian state living in good neighborhood with the Israeli state would be also the defeat of Hamas.
In your opening, you talked about Spain's role in the Indo-Pacific and was pleased to hear about that. And at the Atlantic Council, we've done a lot of work about the importance of stitching together American alliances in Europe and in the Indo-Pacific. And you were in the news last week for hosting the U.S.-China trade talks in Madrid between U.S. Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent and his Chinese counterpart. And you've also previously spoken on the need for Europe to pursue its own independent China policy, balancing opportunities for partnership with the need for competition. So how do you see Spain's role in this new era of strategic competition with China? And do you think that Spain and the United States are seeing the China challenge and opportunities in a similar way?
Well, I was very honored that both the United States and China have chosen Madrid and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and they were negotiating in my own bureau the future of their trade relationship and anything that Spain can do to bring dialogue, cooperation, rapprochement, we will do it. For us, things are very clear. The United States is our historical natural ally for Spain and for Europe. Everything we do together, it's better for all of us. Europeans, Spaniards, for the Americans. The best decades of peace, prosperity have come when we have worked together. At the same time, there are global issues with which we need everyone. And of course, when you see China, permanent member of the Security Council, now that we are in New York, in the UN, a superpower when you see it in population, economy, military, you need to have a dialogue with it. If you want to solve climate change, you need to involve China. If you want to talk about peace and stability in the world, you need to involve China. And we have a huge unbalanced trade relation with China that we have somehow to level and to get a level playing field. Therefore, there are not many countries in the world that have a global foreign policy. Spain has one, and we talk with everyone. But for us, it's very clear, our natural ally is the United States.
Yes. Well, speaking of your global foreign policy and continuing our tour of the globe, let's turn to Africa. And we just hosted the president of Mozambique here on this stage earlier this afternoon. Spain has been a leader in global diplomacy when it comes to bridging Europe and Africa. In December of last year, you published your new Africa strategy, which focuses on diplomacy, development, human rights, stability, security. What are Spain's priorities when it comes to Africa? And coming back to China and Russia, how do you view the role of China and Russia in the continent?
For us, Africa, especially Western Sub-Saharan Africa, they are our neighbors, our African neighbors. Don't forget that the Iberian Peninsula is 14 kilometers away from Africa, that we have Ceuta, Melilla, the Canary Islands that are in Africa. So for us to tackle the main issues that we have, we need that partnership with Africa. We look at working together when it comes to migration, both regular and irregular migration. We work with them also when it comes to trade, investment, development, and also we have a very strong dialogue on democracy and stability, very especially in the Sahel region. We are very happy to see that more and more countries are interested in Africa. We have our own agenda. It's an agenda that puts Africa at the center. When we do development cooperation or when we think about the investment, we listen first to what they want, what are their policies, what are their priorities, and we try to match them. I see other partners of Africa that don't think in the same way. It's up to the Africans to decide what they prefer.
Well, I have many more questions, but we also have an impressive audience here, and so I think we have about 10 more minutes. So I'd like to now open it up to the audience for any questions. We do have people with microphones who will come around, and when I call on you, please identify yourself, name and affiliation. And I'd also invite the people watching online, if you'd like to submit a question, you can do so following the instructions posted online. So, who would like to ask the minister a question? Steve Shapiro, Senior Advisor at the Scowcroft Center.
Thank you, Matt. I hate dead air, so I had to do that.
He's
Mr.
not
Minister,
shy. Yeah.
Mr. Minister, a question on NATO for you. There is some discussion, and it's not completely whimsical, that there are regional interests within NATO. Of course, there's Nordics, Baltics, Eastern, Western, Mediterranean, et cetera. There's also some discussion that it's conceivable that there could be exigent situations, crises, in those regions which aren't necessarily global, but are necessarily NATO. And there's further discussion, which isn't necessarily whimsical, that there might be reluctance on the part of, say, a Mediterranean state to involve itself in a, say, Nordic situation, which might not be global in magnitude, but definitely NATO in legality and charter initiating. The question then is, how would Spain look at the concept of regional responses to smaller yet clear NATO situations, such that we could avoid a circumstance where countries might say, gee, I don't want to get there, it's not big enough, it's too far, I'm in the Med, they're in the North Atlantic. Yet NATO would thus be responding, but on a regional concept, on a regional basis. It's a new concept for NATO where everything is always everybody in, but that may produce a problem if not everybody is really in. And this might be a solution to that. Thank you.
No, I understand what you mean, but so far, I think that everyone understands that security is indivisible within NATO. And that although you might think that this is far, first, the technique today and the technology makes that far doesn't mean anything for weapons or missiles. And second, that if you allow something to happen to one of your far neighbors, it might end up happening to you. The reality is that today Spain is more engaged than ever in Ukraine or in the security of the eastern flank. And we are one of the countries that is farther from the Baltics or from Ukraine. When we held the NATO summit in Madrid in 22, we did a new strategic concept, the strategic concept of Madrid. And for the first time, we introduced also the southern flank. It's true that today the scope of the threat and the challenge that we have in the East has nothing to do with what we could be facing in the South. But there are also challenges that maybe don't need military force, but that also need solidarity from countries that are in the North, using irregular migration to pressure your sovereignty, or energy flows to pressure your sovereignty. So I think we all understand that when we stand together, united, it's the best way for deterrence for everyone. If you take the last few days, all these drones and all these devices violating the sovereignty of Poland, of Romania, Estonia. Today, this morning, we raised up, it was Denmark. And what has been the response of Spain? Total solidarity, as if it was happening to us.
Well,
I think that the best deterrence is to always be together, and that everyone knows and realize that we will respond together since the very first inch of our territories, whatever it is.
great. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Other questions in the room? Let's go in the back. And again, if you could identify yourself and your affiliation.
Hi, my name is Mohammed Amersi from the Foreign Policy Research Institute in Philadelphia. My question is this. Some of us think that in the next 5 years there is a possibility, maybe not so strong today, but it could happen, that the US decide that NATO is not functioning and it's not for them to be a participant there. What is Europe's view about that, and how prepared is Europe to be able to constitute a credible European army that can defend Europe's interests better?
Thank you. Right now, all the hints and all the impressions that we get from the United States is that we are not far from putting an end to NATO or the involvement of the United States. But still, Europe, this is the time to really do a leap forward, to jump on autonomy and sovereignty. It's fair that we take our own destiny in our own hands, because between really dismantling NATO, something that I really don't think will happen, but at the same time having a different level of engagement by some of the allies, there is a big scope, and some of those things can happen, and some of those things are happening. And I think that both in economy and in security, it's the right moment. And I really do, as much as I can, as Minister of Foreign Affairs of one of the big countries of Europe, to promote our own autonomy and our sovereignty in both, in internal trade, removing all the obstacles to the internal market, and also in security. A European army is still far, but I think we can start to look at some capacities that can start to work together and to be the beginning of what will be in the future a European army, as well as better integrate our industry of defense among different countries.
Well, those are good points, and I would just want to underscore what you said, that the Trump administration has been clear that they support NATO, they support Article 5, they just want to see European allies do more. We're almost at the end of time. We maybe have time for one more question. Gentleman in the blue in back.
Thank you so much, Minister. Such a great conversation. Came in listening to the Africa strategy. Loved your insight. I'm curious. I remember the first time I was in Barcelona, the food was amazing. People were so friendly, such an amazing culture. I'm curious what your thoughts are on engaging young people in Africa, especially in regards to the next 20, 25 years, having the youngest population and the largest population. I heard you say you'd listen first, but what are you doing to incorporate and ensure that you're having youth at the center of this dialogue and this exchange?
And if you don't mind, sir, would you share your name and affiliation?
Yes, my name is Arthur Amadi. I'm the founder of Youth in Diaspora, uniting young people of African descent in the diaspora here in the US, Canada, and the UK. Thank you.
Well, you just pointed at the main resource of Africa, and Africa has many resources. Its people and the youth of its people. Actually, that biggest strength of Africa is the biggest strength of humanity. It's there where we have to invest. We do it through three different trends. The first is legal and circular migration. We have programs in which we want to give opportunities to the people of Africa to come to Spain, we need labor, and we are increasing it. We do it very, very consistently with people coming from Morocco or from Senegal, from Gambia, countries that are very, very close to Spain. The second one is training. We try in our development cooperation programs to do training that is adapted to the real labor market of each country. What can be done? And we do it in cooperation and in dialogue with the authorities. And we are promoting more and more Spanish language through the continent with Instituto Cervantes, and there is a big, big demand. And I can reassure you, Barcelona continues to be a city as you remember. So the next time you go back, you will have also such a good food.
Well, Minister Albares, I know you have to run off to an important meeting. I think we are at time, but thank you very much for making time out of your schedule to speak with us today. It's been a fascinating conversation. I'd like to thank all of you as well for joining here in person and for all of you joining us online. And look forward to the next edition of AC Front Page. And thank you again. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you. Thank you.